Long ago, in a faraway kingdom nestled among snow-covered mountains, there lived a king who was fair and kind. His queen was famous for her deep wisdom and her understanding of things that ordinary people could not see. She believed in the moon's dreams and in the signs sent by the ancient gods. One night, under a sky filled with the moon and bright stars, the queen gave birth to a baby princess. The moment the child cried for the first time, the light in the room suddenly became soft and gentle, as if the moon and the stars were bowing down to look into the small cradle and welcome this special princess. The servants standing nearby were frozen in shock. They had never seen a baby like this before. The child's beauty was strange and radiant, clear like starlight and bright like the first light of morning. The queen lifted her daughter into her arms and looked at her for a long time, her eyes filled with love, joy, and also quiet worry. In that moment, she heard a voice. It did not come from any human. It came from very far away, deep and wide, as if it rose from both the earth and the sky at the same time. This child carries the light of the gods. If the world sees her beauty before the right time, jealousy and ambition will destroy both her and this kingdom. The queen knelt beside the baby's cradle, silent tears falling from her eyes. She understood that this beauty was not only a gift, but also a mission, a test for both the child and the world around her. That same night, she summoned the oldest and most skilled woodworker in the kingdom. "I need a wooden barrel," she said, "but not an ordinary one. I need it to protect my daughter, so ordinary eyes cannot see her true beauty." The old woodworker trembled, but he bowed his head and agreed. He went into the forest for 3 days and 3 nights. When he returned, he carried a strange piece of wood on his shoulder. The wood was neither bright nor dark. It held the colors of sunset, sometimes pale gold, sometimes deep brown. For 7 days and 7 nights, he worked in silence, carving the wood and whispering words that only he and the gods could understand. When the barrel was finished, the queen placed her hand on it. A soft light and gentle warmth spread outward, like the beating of a living heart. She knew that this barrel did not only hide, it also protected. One night, the queen gently placed the wooden barrel over her daughter's head. The baby did not cry. She only breathed softly, as if she were sleeping inside a long and peaceful dream. From that moment on, the barrel stayed with her. Sometimes it rested over the princess's head. Sometimes it seemed to wrap around her body like a quiet guardian. No one expected what happened next. The very next morning, the queen passed away. The whole kingdom fell into deep mourning. The king dressed in black and spoke to no one for many days. He moved through the empty halls of the castle like a shadow. Every corner still carried the soft scent of his lost queen. When he went to see his daughter and saw the wooden barrel on her head, pain and anger rose in his heart. "Take it off," he ordered. "That does not belong on my child." The guards pulled and pushed with all their strength, but the barrel did not move. It was not heavy, yet it was firm, as if it were bound to the princess's very life. The king summoned magicians, healers, and scholars from far and wide. They touched the barrel, tapped its surface, and even used magic. Each time, the barrel answered with only a deep, low sound, like an echo from a very distant place. At last, an old wise man spoke. "My king, this is not made by human hands alone. It carries a promise from the gods. When the right time comes, it will open by itself. Before that day, no one can break it without paying a great price." The king was afraid. The princess grew up surrounded by whispers, curious looks, and distant, cold eyes. 3 years passed. The king married another woman. The new queen was beautiful and clever, but inside her heart burned a fire of jealousy that never went out. Whenever she saw the princess with the wooden barrel, protected by the king, she felt darkness enter the castle. Every time something bad happened, she blamed the child. From the very first moment she saw the princess with the barrel on her head, she believed the girl was a bad sign, a curse, and a thorn in her heart. Day by day, her hatred grew stronger. She searched for a way to remove the poor princess forever. One day, when the king went hunting, she gave a cruel order. She told the soldiers to take the princess far away, to a wild and empty place, and leave her there. The princess stood alone among the white snow-covered mountains. Snow fell onto her shoulders. The wooden barrel caught the snow on its surface, as if it were shielding her from the cold sky above. She began to walk across the endless white ground, not knowing where she was going, only knowing that she could not turn back. Every step was filled with pain. Winter passed in hunger and loneliness. Then spring came. The ice melted and green grass returned. The princess wandered into a small village. But instead of being welcomed, the children were afraid of her and made fun of her. They threw stones and dirt at the wooden barrel on her head, laughing loudly each time they heard the clack, clack sound. At night, she curled up by the river, hugging her thin arms around her body. She looked up at the star-filled sky and wondered why her mother had treated her this way. The adults turned their faces away. Even small dogs barked and chased her. Every day, the princess had to endure their cold looks and cruel laughter. One night, the princess sat by the river and placed her hand on the wooden barrel. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Why are you here with me?" The barrel did not answer, but warmth spread into her hand, like the slow, steady beat of a living heart. One night, in deep despair, the princess stood for a long time by the river. She thought that if she disappeared, maybe the world would be a gentler place. She closed her eyes and stepped into the cold water, letting the current carry her away. The wooden barrel on her head floated on the surface, keeping her from sinking. All night long, the princess drifted down the river, beneath the silver moon and the sad, whispering sound of flowing water. The next morning, a young prince was riding his horse along the riverbank. He noticed a strange shape drifting on the water. When he came closer, he saw a girl with a wooden barrel on her head. Without hesitation, he shouted for his men to jump in and rescue her. The princess was pulled onto the shore, coughing and shaking. The prince gently asked what had happened, but she only lowered her head in silence. Her painful memories locked her voice inside her heart, and she could not speak to anyone about what she had been through. The prince looked at her for a long moment, then smiled kindly. He said that if she had nowhere to go, she could come and work in his castle. No one would harm her there. From that day on, the wooden barrel princess became a simple servant. She carried water from the well, cooked in the kitchen, swept the long hallways, and washed the cold stone steps. Her hard work lasted from early morning until late at night. Only when everyone else was asleep could she lie down on her small bed in the narrow room. Late one night, when she could not sleep, she walked past the old storage room. There, under the moonlight shining through a small crack in the door, she saw an ancient harp covered in dust. She could not resist. She gently wiped it clean and touched the strings, playing a soft melody. The sound rose, sad and gentle, like the wind moving through an empty field. The music slipped through the long corridors and reached the prince's room, where he lay awake. He sat up, listened, and followed the sound. When he reached the storage room, he saw the strange girl sitting in the moonlight, the wooden barrel on her head, her long, slender fingers gliding over the strings. The princess startled and quickly stood up to apologize, but the prince only smiled and gently signaled for her to continue playing. Her beautiful melodies touched the prince's heart. When the song ended, he suddenly realized that an ordinary servant would never have the chance to learn such music. He asked where she had learned to play and who she truly was. The princess lowered her head, knowing she could no longer hide. She told him everything, about her true identity, about who had placed the wooden barrel on her head, and about all the pain and journeys she had lived through. The prince listened to every word, his heart filled with both deep sorrow and admiration. From that moment on, he fell in love with the wooden barrel princess. But fate tested them once again. The next day, the prince's parents announced that they had arranged a marriage for him with a princess from another kingdom. The prince refused at once. He said that his heart already belonged to the girl with the wooden barrel. The king became furious. He declared that he would never allow his son to marry such a strange girl. Those words reached the princess by accident. She stood still, tears falling onto the cold stone floor. She believed that she only brought pain to the one she loved. That night, she decided to leave. When she opened the door, the prince was standing there. He told her that he was ready to give up his crown and go with her. But his father appeared, drew his sword, and shouted in anger that he would never let his son abandon the kingdom for one person. The sword flashed in the torchlight. The princess closed her eyes and waited. The prince ran forward to stand in front of her. Suddenly, the wooden barrel on her head began to glow with bright golden light. Cracks spread across its surface, and the light poured out into the courtyard. A soft boom filled the air, and the barrel broke into many small pieces, falling like glowing petals. The princess stood there, her beauty shining. A gentle light surrounded her, like flowers opening under the sun. The king, the prince, and everyone who witnessed it stood frozen in silence. Before anyone could speak, a voice rose from the fading pieces of wood. This beauty is not meant to be seen. It is meant to be deserved. The barrel was a promise. It hid the light until the hearts of the world learned to love without needing to see, to trust without needing proof, and to protect without wanting a reward. At last, nothing stood in their way. The princess and the prince were married in a bright and joyful wedding, where flowers filled the castle and music played for many days. They lived together not just as royalty, but as two souls who had walked through darkness and found each other in the light. From that day on, the people of the kingdom no longer told the story of the wooden barrel princess as a curse, but as a lesson that true beauty is not in what the eyes can see, but in what the heart chooses to stay with when everything else walks away. A symbol of patience, love, and the miracle of fate.